Hello and welcome back to the third rail. We have a new addition to the collection this week. I just received this series 64 of the SNCB and I thought we should have a first look at it together. First, let's have a quick model overview as usual. This model was first released in 1973 under model number 3086. You'll find it on page 20 of the catalogue of this year. It remained in the catalogue for about 7 to 8 years, during which it received several modifications. The initial version was released with running number 64041 and the depot code NK in a little embossed box on the side of the cab. The tender was numbered 22226 and had the running number of the locomotive at the back. The tooling used by Märklin for this model was the same as it used before for model number 3098, which was equipped with wind deflectors. As a result, the little holes that were required to install the wind deflectors were still visible on this version of the 3086. This was very quickly rectified, and the same year a new version of the product, version 2, replaced the version 1 and remained in the catalogue until 1977. For the remaining versions it gets very messy, in the sense that they were all issued in 1978 in quick succession. We'll go briefly through these various versions. Version 3 does not appear in the catalogue. It was probably done before the 1978 catalogue went to print. Version 3 received new running numbers 64119 on the body of the locomotive and the tender was renumbered to 22301. Additionally, on the side of the locomotive, a new depot code was added, also in a little embossed or raised box on the side of the driver's cab. The depot code was FT. To make things a bit more complicated, also in 1978 and not in the catalogue is a version 4, which had the same running number as version 3, 64119, but the tender number 22226, with the running number of the locomotive at the back. On version 4 the depot code is also in a box, but there are also versions where the depot code is simply under the running number of the locomotive on the side of the cab with no box. Very simple. Again in 1978 we now have version 5, which looks similar to the one in the catalogue that year. It's basically the same body of the locomotive as version 3 of the model, but the tender has been changed to a 4-axle tender. And finally in 1978 we had version 6, which is the same as the previous version. The only difference with this one is that the depot code on the side of the cab is printed on an even surface, so there's no embossed box there. And this is the model I own. Let's have a look at a few vital statistics now. The model measures 21.8 centimeters buffer to buffer. It has a body and chassis made of metal and a tender made of plastic. This model has a different chassis layout compared to other Märklin products of the time. It's mid-engined, meaning that you have a see-through cab as a result. It's got a 3-pole motor that drives 3 axles equipped with a pair of traction tires. The somewhat different chassis configuration means that there is no space for a smoke generator. However, Märklin squeezed in triple headlights. There are also the usual relax coupling at the back and a coupling hook at the front of the engine. Let's move on to some prototype information as usual. we have to deal with the Type 64 of the SNCB. Here we can see a picture of one of them entering Charleroi station in 1957. The Series 64s were of Prussian construction and started their life in the Prussian railways as Prussian P8s. They were produced between 1908 and 1926. The Series 64s were delivered to Belgium as part of World War I reparation payments. The first locomotives arrived in Belgium in 1919. They remained in service virtually unchanged, although modifications were made to adapt them to Belgian requirements, until 1965, where the last of them was decommissioned. They were mostly used for passenger duties, but the P8 is quite a versatile engine, so you would also have seen light goods trains pulled by these locomotives at the time. Let's have a look at my 3086 now. So the model came in its original box, which itself doesn't look too bad. It's the packaging from the late 70s, early 80s, so that's correct for version 6. All the model stickers are present. And yes, the box is in excellent order for something that's over 40 years old now. Let's have a look inside the box now. I can see between the styrene inlay and the cardboard box that we have some instructions. That's always good, although the instructions of the time were pretty useless. Let's take the model out now and see what we've got to deal with. It doesn't look too bad from here. Yeah, not bad at all. So I'm going to put the locomotive on its presentation rail and we'll have a closer look. And here it is on its presentation rail, and I must say that it's quite a nice model. I'm really struggling to find anything wrong with it. Looking all around the model, I can't find any paint defects or any breaches of any kind. So I've got absolutely nothing to complain about. Yeah, it looks very nice indeed. The only defect I can see is a bit of pitting on one of the driving wheels. Not bad at all. So it's time to move the engine to the layout and see how it behaves on the track for a quick first test. Right, let's try and give the engine a bit of power. The reverser is working, that's good. Signal is in the way, set to red. Let me just change it and we'll give it another go. Very noisy. But apart from that, everything is functional. So all it will need is a bit of oil, would be my first guess. Nothing more by the looks of it. Excellent. Right, let's have a look at cars now. Märklin didn't produce anything Belgian on this front, unfortunately, at the time. Maybe a sleeping car or two. But we can do an approximation, because at the same time as the Series 64 was delivered to Belgium, there were also a lot of passenger cars of Prussian type that followed it and came in as part of the war reparation payments. And that we had at the catalogue at the time in the shape of the good old 4004 and 4005. So if we look at pictures of the 50s and 60s from this prototype, we can see that Prussian type cars were still in use by then. So that would be my suggestion of matching stock from the Märklin catalogs for this model. And I have a few in the collection, so I'm pretty sure that they will look very nice behind this beautiful 3086 in an upcoming short or running session. Right, that's it for this model. I'd like to thank you very much for watching if you've made it that far. I'd also like to thank all the subscribers to the channel. It never ceases to amaze me that people are so interested in the content that they subscribe, hit the notification bell, and sometimes even give me a like. That's all very rewarding and keeps me going. Thank you very much for this again. Bye for now.